Some people believe the body defines a human, but others argue that the mind is the only thing that matters. Organic flesh is no longer a problem since any consciousness can simply be transplanted into a new mechanical frame. Shattered pills on the floor prove that even a broken mind finds peace through a simple injection of stabilizers. This young man stares at the machine and questions the meaning of life in a world where immortality is just a surgery. Static noises escape the cold metal mouth of the robot as it struggles to form words that no longer exist. Shadows hide his expression, but the weight of the situation crushes any hope left in this dark and gloomy room. The machine calls him son before asking the most painful question about whether his mother is truly alive. Memories of a beautiful woman fade into a cheap metallic skeleton that replaced her organic form years ago. Cancer destroyed her original body and forced her to become a pile of junk just to keep her consciousness present. Stuck to a charger, the poor woman cannot even move her limbs and only emits strange sounds from her rusted throat. Our protagonist prepares for work and tells the machine to call him despite knowing she cannot lift a finger. His feet carry him through the decaying hallway as he bears the burden of a family rotting away in this dark city. A single cigarette serves as his only comfort as the thick smoke fills his lungs in the quiet morning air. Gigantic buildings and holograms tower over the slums, making the entire atmosphere feel incredibly suffocating. Life in the slums is a nightmare because they lack the money to buy even a cheap metallic skeleton for her. The system screen flickers with a grim reminder that life in this world comes with a very heavy price tag. This guy realized that his massive financial hole was way deeper than anyone could ever imagine in their dreams. Every single cent from his grueling work shifts goes straight into paying back these endless corporate debts. Propaganda echoes through the hollow streets, promising a bright future for everyone living in this corporate nation. An annoying ringtone cuts through the silence as a new notification appears right before his tired eyes. Today the mission involves assisting with some brutal urban combat taking place deep within the B4 street zone. Skyscrapers tower over him as he wonders if a happy day will ever actually exist for someone in this place. The security department moves like a well-oiled machine to protect every single interest of their greedy subsidiary. Finding peace in the year 2055 within the city of Seoul is a task that seems completely impossible. Violent sparks fly as the squad prepares their weapons for the chaotic battle that is about to erupt in the alley. Armored soldiers stand ready in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to execute their next lethal command. A sudden blast of light blinds everyone nearby as the first shot rings out through the cold morning air. Bullets fly through the darkness and the sound of heavy gunfire dominates the entire neighborhood in an instant. Soldiers sprint through the debris to find their targets before the situation spirals out of their control. Blood-red skies frame his face as he witnesses the harsh reality of a world that values money over human life. Sudden flashes of memories haunt his mind until his eyes snap open in complete terror. This masked psycho leaps through the burning sky to finish the job before the sun sets. Gravity shifts as the warrior crushes the concrete with a devastating blow that shakes the entire alley. Cold sweat drips down his face because he realizes that death is standing right in front of him now. Fingers tighten around the cold metal of a weapon as he prepares to fire his very last hope. A blinding explosion of light erupts when the bullet meets the demonic force of his enemy. Shadows dance in the chaos as these two warriors trade strikes in a desperate battle for survival. Exhaustion finally catches up to Anul as he stands amidst the debris of another brutal encounter. Dark circles under his eyes tell the story of a man who has forgotten how to sleep peacefully. Beyond the ruins, a massive tower rises as he dreams of escaping this hellish life for good. Money enters the bank account, but these digital numbers cannot fix the hole in his tired soul. This mysterious girl appears in the shadows to change the rhythm of his heartbeat today. Pain flares in his side, so he decides to visit the clinic before the wound gets any worse. Both strangers move through the neon lights while searching for a place where they finally belong. Her golden eyes glow with a secret power that could either save him or destroy the entire city. Three strangers sit together in a room where the air feels heavy with unspoken threats from every side. Those two guys exchange a sinister look as if they already planned something terrible for the girl next to them. Suddenly, a heavy boot crushes a metal can against the floor to signal the start of their pathetic game. Dark silhouettes reveal the moment the bullies strike her down and force her onto the cold hard ground. Shards of glass erupt into the air as everything she held dear shatters into a million pieces before her eyes. That tall jerk in the red jacket looks down with a fake apology and mocks her very existence. The bully orders her to pick up the mess like a servant before walking away with his prideful head held high. Another mysterious figure watches the scene unfold from the shadows with a calm and dangerous aura around him. His tired eyes reveal a man who has seen too much of this world and cares little for these petty games. The stranger pulls out a cigarette and holds it firmly between his fingers with a cold and steady grip. With a single motion he snaps the tobacco in half to show his absolute disgust for the situation happening nearby. The burning ember flies through the air and lands on the bully to ignite a spark of fear in that arrogant coward. Golden eyes widen in shock as the girl wonders why this unknown man decided to interfere in her moment of despair. Her silent gaze fixates on his face as she tries to understand the true intentions of her unexpected savior. Both of them crouch down on the floor to gather the remains of her broken world in total silence together. This white-haired beauty glares with cold eyes as she threatens to blacklist him from the department forever. A suspicious hood covers his head as the mysterious man laughs and asks her about a steam locomotive. He points his finger straight forward with total confidence to finish his strange explanation of the situation. Shadows disappear into the alleyway as the duo wonders how things managed to escalate so quickly tonight. Both of them stand together in silence as they process the chaotic events that just unfolded in front of them. Small smirks appear on her face because she finally understands the true meaning behind his cryptic words. Her face turns red as she looks up at her companion with a soft expression that hides her lethal intentions. Suddenly a hand reaches out and grabs him by the neck with enough force to shatter every bone in his body. Agony fills his lungs and he collapses, but the girl asks with concern if he got hurt during the intense struggle. His voice trembles as he explains his daily job in security led to several broken ribs from a powerful strike. The secret comes out as she admits that she is actually a professional pharmacist capable of healing his wounds. She quickly pulls out a medical bag marked with a red cross to find the right treatment for his injuries. Detailed instructions follow as she tells him to take this medicine exactly 3 times every single day. That injured man waves his hand as he says goodbye and starts to walk away from her in the dark. Stop right there because she calls out to him to wait for one more moment before he vanishes into the night. Shadows dance as a mysterious woman approaches our protagonist with a sudden invitation for his time. Confusion hits him hard as his mouth hangs open trying to process exactly what this stranger wants from him. A small smile forms on her face as she casually suggests they grab a delicious meal together right now. Suspicion fills the air because he wonders if she plans on robbing him or selling his body parts for cash. She laughs at his fear after watching him count every single penny at the local pharmacy earlier today. Her sharp eyes noticed how he takes a beating at work and simply whimpers like a kicked puppy in the rain. Despite his misery, she found his struggle entertaining enough to pay for a full luxury dinner tonight. The young man squints his eyes and remains on high alert because this entire situation feels like a trap. Logic dictates that a robber would never target a pathetic weakling with zero money in his bank account. Green eyes pierce through his soul as he mentions his mother is currently waiting for him back at home. Both strangers stare intensely during this silent standoff under the dim city lights as heartbeats race. Nervous sweat drips down his face before he finally decides that a free meal is worth any potential risk. Luxury glows from the restaurant entrance and his jaw drops because this place looks way too expensive for him. Their fingers brush against each other as the mysterious deal is sealed and a path to a new life begins. Golden hair shines as she pushes him inside because she is dying to know every dark secret he hides. Hanul looks absolutely shocked as he stares at his mysterious dining companion across the table. Thoughts about a warm meal and the long journey home fill his mind as the night grows darker outside. 2 lonely silhouettes sit together against the backdrop of a massive city glowing with neon lights. Seohyun finally breaks the ice by introducing herself and asking for the name of this quiet man. Curiosity sparkles in her eyes as she asks which specific department he works for in this dangerous place. Poor Hanul admits he is just a temporary security guard who feels lost when trying to eat this fancy bread. Reality hits hard when she mentions that security jobs are temporary because nobody survives long there. Heavy debt forces him to take on these deadly risks just to keep his head above water for another day. The girl wonders if he plans to survive on nothing but dry bread while facing such a grim future. Confusion takes over his face as she suddenly tells him to stay still and grip the knife properly. Small hands reach out to guide him through the proper way to handle the sharp utensils on the table. She gently helps him cut through the expensive meat as they share an unexpectedly intimate moment. This meal tastes better than cheap cup ramen and feels like a beautiful dream he never wants to leave. Fresh air at the park sounds like the perfect way to end their strange but comforting evening together. Stars shine above them as they talk about the massive cost of his mother's skeleton and his crushing debt. A corporate dog lifestyle sounds like a perfect dream in this broken world. She casually mentions her history with the massive corporation ruling the city. Both friends stand together watching the horizon as the wind blows through their hair. Shock paralyzes his face because her background is way too prestigious for him. Future corporations dominate the streets since the government completely collapsed. Power and wealth usually follow that path, and he wonders why she ever left it. Soft light illuminates her face as she starts explaining her secret inner desires. Human perfection is the only thing that truly matters in her golden eyes. Such a massive dream sounds almost impossible, but he still finds it impressive. Hanul dreams of a simple vacation on a beach in Tahiti to escape the stress. Strange white light pierces the center of the city like a pillar of heaven. Their peaceful day at the park ends with a quiet conversation near the shadows. Darkness shrouds the area and he realizes that 10 o'clock already arrived. Sudden tension fills the air when she calls out to him one last time. Gratitude fills his voice as he rushes away to reach his home quickly. This mysterious girl stares ahead with those glowing yellow eyes as if she can see right through your soul. She suddenly flashes a teasing smile, asking the guy if he really plans to let a lady walk through these dark streets alone. Hanul looks completely stunned by her sudden change in tone because he never expected this kind of interaction tonight. Her voice softens as she mentions how brutal and lonely this concrete jungle can be for someone living without any help. A shocking confession drops when she admits that a strange sense of kinship made her develop deep feelings for him. Sweat pours down the poor guy's face as he blinks in total disbelief, trying to process this romantic bombshell. Silence fills the air as the hooded protagonist stands still, deciding to just escort her home safely for the night. Tiny rats scurry across the orange floor under the dim lights of the city as the pair continues their long journey. Strange machines loom over the alleyways like giant mechanical monsters, watching every single move they make in the dark. Both of them walk together toward the towering skyline that glows with a cold and unforgiving blue light. Their silhouettes look tiny against the massive buildings as they approach the heart of this futuristic metropolis. Curiosity takes over her as she wonders why he refuses to swap his human flesh for a powerful and durable steel body. Money is a huge problem, but the guy admits he simply feels a bit averse to losing his natural humanity for cold metal. She argues that even the most advanced brainships are just simple tools unless a person is reborn as a fundamental being. Hanul simply agrees with her words as he looks at the horizon, wondering what his future holds in this metal world. She stands before the ruins and claims that humanity is doomed to suffer unless they somehow defy the laws of causality. Hanul stares at her with a blank expression because he has absolutely no clue what this girl is even talking about today. Her golden eyes pierce through his soul as she asks if he ever considered the true origin of all human pain in this world. He repeats her words as he looks at the decaying skyline and wonders if there is a deeper meaning to her cryptic speech. Silence hangs heavy between them as the cold wind blows against his face, since they stand on the edge of the urban wasteland. A giant robotic head watches from above as she claims that the true meaning of human life might just be endless suffering. Broken power lines hang over the green city streets since the old world was abandoned by the people long ago. The girl offers a small smile at her apartment door and thanks him for being such a gentleman by walking her home tonight. The young man stands in the dimly lit corridor and claims it was just a small favor after she treated him to a nice dinner. The protagonist turns around to leave, but a strange feeling suddenly washes over his entire body. He grabs her arm with a sudden burst of intensity, as if his survival instincts are finally screaming at him to take action. A thunderous sound echoes through the hall as the reality of the situation shifts into something far more dangerous. Footsteps click against the cold floor as a mysterious figure watches the city lights flicker like dying stars. They stand together against the glowing backdrop of a world that is slowly falling apart right before their very eyes. Sweat drips down his face as Hanul realizes that something is terribly wrong with this place and his heart starts racing. This mysterious girl smiles as she asks if the young man is actually curious about her secrets. Shadows embrace under a chaotic sky as these two souls finally share a moment they will never forget. She whispers a dangerous temptation by suggesting they should just drop everything and vanish from this cruel world. Sweat pours down his face as he realizes the weight of his reality is crashing against his desire to escape. Logic screams in his head that he must resist this beautiful trap because his life is already on the line. Every cent he earns belongs to someone else since his massive debt keeps him chained to a miserable job. Thoughts of his mother waiting at home pull at his heart, but the darkness around him feels so much warmer. Her eyes sparkle with a hidden intent as she waits for him to make the choice that changes everything. A soft hand touches his chest to keep him from walking away into the cold reality of his boring life. Hard work defined his existence until this very second when his entire spirit began to break. She begs him to stay still just for tonight so they can forget the world together in this moment. Only one day of freedom is all she asks as the temptation to stop fighting becomes almost impossible to ignore. 5 missed calls from his mother glow on the screen, but the shadows of this new bond consume his attention. Reality fades into a deep yellow void where a single eye watches the collapse of his traditional values. Everything he knew vanishes as the silhouette of the girl becomes the only thing left in his shattered mind. This young man sits on the edge of the bed looking distant as he mentions his mother to his companion. His friend mocks him with a smirk, wondering if a grown man should still be such a mama boy today. Shadows hide their faces as he explains the silent calls from a woman who lost her voice long ago. Genuine worry fills her eyes as she tells him to leave immediately to check on his family. The protagonist stands up to depart and admits that their time together was exactly what he needed. Her soft hands rest on his shoulder and she offers to be his pillar of support whenever life gets hard. A gentle smile spreads across her face because she believes that everyone needs someone to lean on. This warrior moves through the ruins of a broken city and promises to call her before vanishing. He speeds through the dark doorway and runs toward the light to escape the heavy weight of his past. Memories take him back to a childhood of war where a small boy found himself lost and alone. Sweat drips down his terrified face as those tiny feet freeze in the middle of a cold alleyway. Monsters in human skin used to hunt for children in those slums to sell them like common trash. Heavy boots crunch on the gravel as a massive figure approaches the helpless child from the darkness. The boy looks up in total silence and realizes that his nightmare has finally caught up with him. Bandages cover the head of this terrifying stranger who looks more like a ghost than a living man. A desperate voice echoes through the cold and dark hallway as someone screams out for Hanul. Shadows dance against the bright orange light as a mother holds her child tightly near the exit. They move quickly toward the light, but the danger lurking in the darkness is far from over. Metal clicks as she prepares her weapon for the final confrontation that will change their lives. Her aim remains steady despite the fear as the barrel points directly at the enemy head. Red fills the vision when a single shot obliterates the silence and ends the threat instantly. Soft whispers break the tension as she desperately asks if her son is still doing okay. Warmth returns to his small body when she pulls him into a protective and loving embrace. Gentle words flow as she warns him never to look back at the horror behind them. Small fingers grip the wood tightly as the boy wonders if his mother just took a life. Gunpowder fills the air and her hands tremble as the reality of her actions finally settles in. This little boy makes a silent vow to become strong enough to protect her from this world. Years pass and the grown man stands in the doorway looking at his past with new eyes. An old mechanical figure sits waiting in the corner and apologizes for arriving so late today. Hanul recounts a story about a strange woman who almost ripped his face off during their meeting. This hooded fellow is talking about a dinner date he totally misunderstood because he has 0 friends in this world. They spent the entire night having so much fun that he completely missed every single incoming call on his phone. His voice asks the person on the other side why they bothered calling as he stares blankly into the distance. Silence fills the air as his expression shifts into something much more serious and cold before the next revelation drops. Nearby, a grotesque machine stands tall with filthy rats crawling over a living brain trapped inside a glass jar. These rodents chew through the wiring and hiss as the mechanical nightmare continues to pulse with a faint light. Shadows stretch across the ground as a mysterious figure demands to know why it took so long for help to finally arrive. Our hero enters the service center, which feels like a tomb where machines go to die or get a second chance at life. The bearded mechanic looks up with his specialized lens to check the condition of the girl resting on the cold table. Instead of offering hope, the old man simply tells him to contact the insurance company for a final settlement. Reality hits hard when the mechanic explains that the brain is completely dead and a funeral is the only option left. Amidst the ruins of the city, he calls the company to arrange a burial for the specific XP1 model. Frustration grows as he insists that every single insurance premium was paid on time without a single delay. Anger boils over as he questions if this particular model is somehow not eligible for a proper send-off. The corporate voice, cold and heartless, informs him that support ended long ago because she is just an outdated model. Frustration boils over as he looks at the wreckage of a world that offers nothing but pain and misery. Giant hands crush his hope as he realizes how small and insignificant he is compared to this cruel destiny. Heavy boots hit the dry dirt as the young man crosses the fence into a lawless wasteland full of danger. A group of lowlife scavengers blocks his path with smug smiles and weapons ready to cause some serious trouble. Shoulders smash into each other during a tense moment as the traveler walks right through the crowd of punks. Angry shouts pierce the silence as the leader of the gang turns around with fire in his eyes. Harsh words fill the air when the bully demands that he takes his trashy metal container and leaves immediately. Goggles hide a gaze full of malice as the Mohawk warrior prepares to teach the stranger a painful lesson. Horrible jokes about the brain inside the tin can start flying as the thugs mock his most precious possession. Disgusting insults about his own mother hit his ears, but he remains standing still like a cold stone statue. Another member of the group tells the loudmouth to stop because they have no time to waste on losers. Dark shadows mask his expression as the protagonist endures the humiliation with a silent and terrifying patience. Rage makes his fingers twitch as he grips the container tight enough to shatter the very bones in his hand. Society no longer recognizes his mother as a legal person, so he must carry this heavy burden alone. Thick smoke drifts toward the orange sky as the final flames consume the only thing he had left to love. Since he and his mother only lived for work, they had no friends to call for help in this lonely world. This funeral feels pointless because he knows people would only laugh at their miserable lives. Grief consumes his mind because he wanted to give his mother a proper farewell regardless of the cost. Regret weighs heavy as he sits on the edge of the city and wishes he had arrived much sooner. Light fades over the horizon as the scene shifts away from this tragedy into a cold corporate meeting room. Inside the future corporation, a tall figure stands before his team to discuss a target they finally track down. Sanabro looks like a literal brain inside a glass jar as he announces that the hunt is officially back on. Someone stole their secret project and now a rogue doctor is making moves with innocent people in the slums. These elite agents listen closely while preparing to deploy for a mission that could change everything for them. This mission is the highest priority for the company, so they must move with absolute precision and care. One hand shoots up into the air as an agent prepares to ask the most important question of the night. A girl with messy hair looks directly at her leader to clarify the rules of engagement for this hunt. She wonders if they should finish the targets instantly or bring them back alive for further questioning. The soldiers realize the situation is extremely rough as they prepare for a brutal bloodbath in the streets. The commander orders them to eliminate civilians but capture anyone who has used the tech, even if they suffer casualties. Heavy rain pours down into a small bowl as the cold atmosphere sets a very dark tone for this meeting. Seohyun never expected this mysterious man to return to her place without saying a single word. A heavy silence fills the air as she asks if something went wrong during his long journey. Both of them sit across a small table while the endless purple rain washes away the noise of the world. Darkness consumes his face under that heavy hood and he remains silent like a ghost in the night. A small smile plays on her lips as she asks if he finally came back to confess his love. His voice cracks as he reveals the devastating news that his mother passed away while he was gone. Self-hatred consumes his heart because he feels pathetic for clinging to a woman after only one night. Every single day of his life was spent working hard, but now he feels like it was all for nothing. Shadows dance across his face as the weight of the world finally crushes his iron spirit. Seohyun stands up and walks toward the broken man to offer the comfort he desperately needs right now. Rain keeps falling on their silhouettes as she reaches out to bridge the distance between their souls. She pulls him into a warm embrace and holds him tight against the cold reality of his recent loss. Tears stream down as he claims his life was a total failure that others would only mock and despise. Her bright eyes lock onto his and she insists that his existence is more than meaningful to her. This blue-haired girl talks about fate and how she thinks they are both identical in this cruel world. Her cold hands reach out to offer him protection against the crushing weight of being alone forever. She promises to save his soul and bring him a kind of happiness that he never thought possible before. The mysterious woman stares with green eyes and thanks the young man for finding her in the pouring rain. A black card rests in her hand as she reveals her love for this sick type of entertainment. Does he like card towers, she asks before explaining her joy in stacking them slowly over time. Darkness consumes the figure of the listener as he remains silent under the heavy pressure of her words. Both of them look out at the city lights and she wonders if this fragile structure feels just like him. Humans spend their entire existence diligently building things up just to see how high they can really go. Sudden destruction follows as she flicks the cards over with a cold look of indifference on her face. Our female lead sips from a mug while standing over the ruins of her fallen cards. Every single thing collapses once a massive current strikes and shatters the foundations of their reality. Confusion fills the mind of the man as he asks what she is actually trying to say with these metaphors. Mockery dances in her eyes because he still fails to understand the true nature of this game. Society was created weak by design according to her, so she did whatever was necessary to fix that flaw. This mysterious girl claims she only worked for that pathetic company to reach a secret goal. Steel bodies and brain chips are just tools because she wants to reach the legendary Pandora inheritance. Her true objective is finding a sacred place where suffering simply doesn't exist for any human soul. Everything is bound by the laws of karma and most people just drown in the unstoppable flow of pain. Addressing the man as Mr. Hanul, she places a gentle hand on his chest to grab his full attention. She whispers into his ear and asks if he truly desires to be free from all this constant agony. Their faces are inches apart as she promises to guide him toward a world beyond his wildest dreams. Those eyes lock onto his as she describes a peaceful realm where no form of pain can ever touch them. Deep within that gaze lies a cold determination that suggests she knows more than she lets on today. Suddenly a heavy metal container begins to shake violently before tumbling onto the cold hard floor. Dust rises from the impact as the girl turns her head to see what caused the sudden disturbance. Hanul feels a strange vibration through the ground and wonders if something dangerous is about to happen. Shadows cast a red glow over her face as the atmosphere turns heavy with an overwhelming sense of dread. That single eye glows with a piercing light as the reality of their situation shifts into something darker. A menacing figure emerges from the smoke and stands before the silhouettes as the true nightmare begins now. She pulls the trigger without a single shred of hesitation as golden sparks fly from the barrel of her weapon. A powerful blow strikes through the darkness before anyone can even react to the sudden movement of the shadows. Fear begins to creep into her eyes as sweat drips down her face under the red heat of this intense situation. This armored hunter stares down with cold mechanical eyes that see everything happening on the battlefield. Cold steel presses against his forehead, then the sound of a loaded chamber echoes through his very soul. Two dangerous agents from the company suddenly emerge and demand everyone to drop their weapons immediately. Surrender is his only option, so the young man tries to look as harmless as a random civilian on the street. They identify the girl as Dr. Seohyun and order her to move before they decide to take her by force. Fire burns in her gaze as she tells these bastards to get lost before she loses her remaining patience. One of the masked men points at the boy and wonders if this pathetic loser is even worth their time today. Recognition strikes the armored thug and a wicked smile forms behind his mask as he remembers a tragic story. The boy stares back with an empty expression, but his heart must be racing as they bring up his dark past. This cruel monster mocks the boy for burning his own mother at the scrapyard like she was just a pile of trash. He asks if the boy wants to join his mother in the flames of the junkyard to be together forever in hell. The villain continues his disgusting jokes about the boy's mother being nothing more than a broken machine. A terrifying shadow looms over the kid as he mocks the boy for being all alone in this cruel world. These masked psychos think the hunt is just a game and decide it is finally time to end his life. One villain warns his partner to stay sharp, but the idiot actually thinks the target is completely harmless. Suddenly a loud blast echoes through the air as blood sprays everywhere and the arrogance vanishes instantly. Pure chaos erupts in a flash of red and black as the mysterious hunter strikes back with deadly precision. Smoke clears as our hero finally reveals himself after dealing a heavy blow to the enemy ranks. His face shows the weight of the battle and his eyes reflect the sheer exhaustion of fighting for survival. Desperation kicks in as he notices another threat charging toward him with the intent to finish the job. This warrior pulls out his secret weapon and prepares to show these fools what true power looks like. Opponents surround him, but he stands his ground without showing even a single hint of fear. Light consumes the entire scene as he fires a massive shot that shatters the silence of the battlefield. The projectile finds its mark and obliterates the skull of the arrogant masked freak who started this mess. Another monster gets sent flying backwards as the shockwave from the attack tears through the atmosphere. An epic explosion rocks the ground and covers everything in a blinding glow of pure destructive energy. Deep down he does all of this for the girl who lies broken on the ground waiting for his protection. Hanul reaches down as the mechanical sound of a metallic lock echoes through the heavy air of the hallway. Cold sweat pours down his forehead since the pressure of this battle is starting to weigh on his very soul. Movement becomes a blur as he lunges toward the mysterious device that fell onto the dusty floor. Both hands grip the cold metal surface with enough force to prove that he is not giving up today. Sharp edges catch the light and he prepares to unleash a devastating strike against his enemies. Our hero leaps into the air like a shadow before descending with a lethal intent that could change his fate. Speed consumes his entire body as he becomes a red streak of pure fury that crosses the room. Concrete shatters into 1,000 pieces when his massive power connects with the ground beneath him. His hands lift the heavy container along with the weight of a past he can no longer ignore. Metal grinds against metal as the internal gears of his weapon erupt with a strange and terrifying energy. This young warrior stands firm against the darkness and holds the key to his survival in his hands. Gravity means nothing as he jumps away from the chaos to gain a better vantage point for his next move. Determination burns bright in his eyes because he refuses to let another loved one die in this hell. Distant echoes fill the room as the container rests on the floor and waits for the next phase of this fight. Time begins to slow down when a giant gear appears in his mind and signals the start of something legendary. Time seems to slow down as Hanul collapses onto the hard ground with his body screaming in absolute agony. Darkness almost consumes his vision, but a tiny spark of survival keeps his heart beating against the cold floor. Gravity pulls him deeper into the abyss as his hand reaches out for a hope that vanished long ago in this battle. This heavy metallic object looms over him like a tombstone ready to bury his dreams under the weight of corporate greed. Everything shatters into tiny fragments when the final blow connects and sends his spirit flying into the unknown. Blood spatters across the digital interface as the systems fail and leave him trapped in a nightmare of red static. Static flickers through his mind and the world outside becomes a blurred mess of shadows and distant screams of pain. Fingers grip the white surface with a desperate strength while his life force slowly drains from his tired limbs. Two legs stand firmly over the defeated warrior to signify that the hunt is finally over for these corporate killers. Such a wicked smile stretches across that face because the monster enjoys watching the light fade from a human soul. Cruelty radiates from every single feature of the hunter who views this entire bloodbath as just another day at work. A towering silhouette dominates the space and casts a long shadow over the young man who lost everything tonight. That masked psycho holds the container tightly and prepares to deliver the finishing move to erase him from history. Blinding white light erupts in a massive shockwave that resets the board and changes the fate of everyone involved. An annoying ringtone echoes through a messy apartment where a TV displays news that nobody is truly watching today. This blue-haired girl picks up her phone to answer a mysterious call in the middle of all this chaos. A panicked voice on the other end tells her that they have a serious problem regarding Hanul right now. She sighs because she already knew those people were all talk and barely even qualified as human beings. Determination fills her spirit as she raises her fist and promises to be there in just a few minutes. Her internal system flickers to life as the emotion-controlled device stabilizes her racing hormone levels instantly. Dust clouds erupt behind her bike as she speeds toward the giant white pillar dominating the city skyline. Those bright blue eyes remain fixed on the road since she must prepare herself for the brutal mission ahead. High-ranking agents gather in the hall as the commander begins his briefing about the current state of emergency. 3 workers are already dead and the primary target managed to escape into a bunker with an unknown ally. Curiosity strikes her mind, so she asks if their new enemies are actually just some highly advanced machines. Nobody knows the truth yet, but the commander suspects they already took control of the entire bunker power grid. Every soldier receives a strict order to bring those targets back alive no matter how much blood they spill. The first squad moves out immediately to cut the electricity and trap the fugitives inside that dark metal cage. Orders for the second squad are clear, so she agrees to infiltrate the facility to secure the doctor right now. Metal groans as she clenches her mechanical fist and prepares to crush anyone standing in her path to victory. Commanders shout for their units to move out as the hunt for our protagonist finally enters the next phase of the plan. Heavy mechanical boots crush the pavement while these elite soldiers prepare to infiltrate the darkest corners of the city. A colossal transport ship roars through the night sky and carries the weight of a corporate army toward its target. Inside the cold metal cabin, several agents sit in silence as they prepare for a bloodbath that nobody can escape today. Sanabro reports through the comms that the target managed to kill 3 contractors and somehow escaped the trap alive. That curly-haired agent looks concerned as she mentions that their associate is probably dead after such a brutal fight. Extreme blood loss usually ends a human life, but the commander believes the target might still be breathing right now. Some people believe the doctor performed a special procedure to turn a dying man into a mindless corporate puppet. Orders come down to breach the building with lasers and finish the mission as quickly as humanly possible without fail. This lethal woman wishes them good luck before the ship drops into the chaos of the city streets for the final strike. Back in reality, the young man opens his eyes and wonders exactly where his memories decided to stop in this nightmare. Violent images of pulling the trigger haunt his mind since death felt like a better choice than becoming a hollow machine. Our hero admits his life was never different from any other miserable soul while looking at the dark urban horizon. Sudden panic strikes when he catches the scent of cold metal and realizes that his sweating face hides a dark secret. Everything changes when he looks down and sees a mechanical skeleton replacing the organic flesh of his broken body. Sweat drips down his chin as the realization of his new existence finally hits his broken mind. He looks down at his chest and sees nothing but a cold metal frame where his organic flesh used to be. Fear consumes his vision as he tries to wipe away the nightmare with hands that no longer feel warm. Those mechanical fingers twitch and click together like a cursed instrument of death in this bright room. This version of Hanul feels like a hollow ghost trapped inside a pile of discarded corporate junk. The protagonist walks toward the blinding yellow light as he carries the weight of a life that was stolen. Confusion clouds his thoughts since the air around him feels completely different from the world he knew. Seohyun notices his struggle and mentions that even the simple act of blinking will feel wrong for a while. That mysterious woman smiles and tells the poor guy that he finally woke up from a very long dream. Her soft human fingers press against his hard metallic surface to remind him that she is still here. Both of them stand together as she offers her own body for him to lean on during this transition. Strange black cables snake out from his neck and connect his human consciousness to this new frame. Everything seems to be functioning perfectly according to her as she checks the integrity of his spine. His voice sounds metallic and distorted when he asks the most important question about his current state. Victory sparkles in her eyes as she declares the surgery a complete and total success for the mission. Seohyun reveals she extracted his brain and gave him a gift that even the richest elites could never hope to afford. The world looks blurry and orange as Hanul struggles to process the fact that his human life just ended forever. Sensation returns to his fingertips as he slowly tries to move his new limbs in this strange and sterile environment. She looks down at her patient with a smile and welcomes him to a brand new life far away from his previous misery. Confusion takes over his entire face as the young man wonders if this is just a dream or a cruel mechanical reality. This superhuman project cost astronomical amounts of money and he is officially the very first success in history. A simple brain inside a glass jar was his fate until this brilliant woman decided to turn him into a living weapon. She laughs and claims that his current body is the latest model, making that old version look like a pile of rust. With a playful tone, she asks how it feels to literally crawl back from the depths of the grave into the light. Hanul turns his head away and mutters that everything feels like a weird dream that he never asked to witness today. Her golden eyes narrow as she tells him to stop acting shy and just admit what he truly thinks about his new form. This broken man looks at the ceiling and admits that staying dead might have been a better fate than living like this. A soft touch reminds him that he is still alive regardless of the cold steel now protecting his fragile consciousness. She leans closer and whispers that he should start being honest with himself before the real world comes for them. That glowing yellow eye shines with a dangerous light as she prepares to reveal the next step of her grand plan. The doctor suggests they perform one last surgery before escaping this underground facility forever. Synchronization remains the biggest problem since his mind and metal body are still fighting for control. Organic tissue rejects the machine, so she must plant an electronic chip directly into his conscious mind. Her calm gaze fixes on him as she orders the young man to lie down because their time is running out. Hanul wonders if this transition into a literal killing machine will actually bring him some peace. Silence fills the small room as the mysterious woman stares back at him with a stunned expression. Seohyun claims he will become a child capable of finally accepting his true nature in this broken world. Shadows move through the basement as the elite squad prepares to breach the final door of the bunker. Tension rises among the soldiers as they descend deeper into the heart of this high-security facility. Weapon barrels point toward the darkness to eliminate any threat that stands in the way of the company. Ancient walls echo with the sound of marching boots as the invaders approach their secret target today. The female leader keeps her eyes sharp for any signs of movement within the dusty corridors of the lab. Metallic clicks signal that her weapon is fully loaded and ready to dispense some corporate justice. Thermal cameras reveal several heat signatures through the scanner to confirm the presence of our hero. A crimson eye flickers to life on the screen as the entire system enters a state of total combat mode. Red laser dots dance on her jacket while she gazes through the scope to find her next victim in this dark facility. Metal doors slowly creak open as the agents prepare to invade the secret lab where our heroes are currently hiding. Shadows of her teammates loom behind as the squad moves through the dark to complete their mission without any delay. Eyes widen in total shock because she never expected to witness such a grotesque display of forbidden technology tonight. Rows of glass tanks filled with mechanical organs and human brains line the room like a twisted gallery of science. That yellow fluid preserves a floating brain that looks way too active for something extracted from a living body. Both sides of the experiment show the brutal reality of a world that treats human life as nothing more than spare parts. Cold fluorescent lights flicker above the laboratory as the tension reaches a breaking point for everyone in the building. Weapon in hand, she informs the command center that they finally reached the target after searching through the dark. Instructions echo through her headset to breach the room immediately once the power grid becomes stable for the attack. Deep in the control room, this green-haired specialist confirms the orders and prepares to execute the final shutdown. Static noises erupt from the speakers as the electronic pulse shatters every single security measure in the entire area. Guns point forward as the elite squad charges ahead since they must secure the doctor before she escapes their grasp. Gears click into place as the heavy machinery prepares to engage the intruders with a sudden burst of power. Seo-hyun turns around as the voice of the corporation reminds her that she officially violated every single policy today. Dark shadows frame the laboratory entrance as a squad of elite corporate soldiers finally breaks through the reinforced door. This curly-haired agent stares with cold eyes and declares that the illegal doctor is officially under arrest right now. Seo-hyun raises her hands with a mocking smile as she laughs at the sudden arrival of these uninvited corporate guests tonight. Her eyes glance back at the table since she hates being interrupted during such a delicate surgery on her new companion. Heavy weapons point directly at her heart as the soldiers order everyone to stay completely still before they open fire today. Those corporate dogs moved much faster than she anticipated, but her calm expression suggests she already has a backup plan. Silhouettes clash in a tense standoff where a single wrong move could turn this sterile room into a total bloodbath for them. Yellow eyes glow with a strange light as she suggests they try a more peaceful approach instead of starting a fight today. One hand reaches behind her back to reveal a mysterious trigger as she claims to be a simple pacifist at heart during this. Suspicion fills the eyes of the lead agent, who realizes that this doctor is far more dangerous than the files ever suggested. Fingers press down on the red button with total confidence to activate a hidden power that nobody in the room can imagine. A massive shockwave erupts from the ground and sends the armored intruders flying backward like they were just mere paper dolls. That defeated soldier gasps for air on the floor and wonders if the facility just activated some gravity control unit. Our genius doctor looks down with a divine smile to explain that this force is actually something called primal causality. Pure terror consumes the face of the agent as she realizes they just walked into a trap set by a literal mechanical goddess. Blinding rays of light cut through the room as a massive presence enters the scene with a heavy and threatening step. This monstrous shadow leans in close and stares directly into her soul with those two glowing white eyes. Fear paralyzes her movements as she peeks over the edge and witnesses the true horror unfolding right now. A demonic jaw of pure energy erupts into the sky to consume every single piece of hope left in this room. Darkness swallows their bodies as a single devastating strike sends the opponent crashing against the cold floor. Characters fly through the air like discarded dolls since a massive explosion rocks the very foundation of the bunker. These heartless soldiers adjust their sights and prepare to unleash a storm of lead upon the target. She looks back with a mysterious gaze and whispers a name that shouldn't even exist in this timeline. Orders for suppression fire echo through the hallway as the agents try to pin down their elusive prey. This new mechanical frame stands tall amidst a pillar of light like a god reborn from the scrap heap. Silent fragments of reality drift through the void while the world around them slowly begins to dissolve. A single piece of their broken past falls through the air before vanishing into the darkness below. Cracked concrete beneath his feet proves that this new vessel possesses a strength far beyond any human limits. Golden eyes lock onto his and she speaks his name with a tenderness that feels almost alien in this hell. Every single secret about his past comes to light as she reveals her knowledge of his lonely struggle. Seohyun whispers that his mother is finally gone and he is finally free to live for himself tonight. She asks if he really wants to surrender this precious new life to the monsters who destroyed his past. Darkness consumes his silhouette as she tells him to hold on to the specific emotion burning in his chest. Her voice commands him to focus all his energy on that single feeling before the world collapses around them. Dust and debris fly through the orange sky as the ground begins to shake under a strange and ancient power. Those three armored thugs stand ready to strike without knowing that a primordial force is about to wake up. Sweat drips down his face until one green eye snaps open with a terrifying intensity that freezes the air. His skeletal figure rises against the blinding light as the concept of causality begins to reshape his destiny. A broken skull sits in the void as every single action in this universe eventually leads back to this moment. That tiny bird watches from the cliff as history hardens into an era that no human can ever hope to resist. Primitive humans began the long journey toward civilization by taking their very first steps into the light. Evolution flows from the first organism back to the primordial stars and the invisible force that governs gravity. This cosmic causality touched every single thing in existence and gave birth to the laws of the entire universe. Metal fingers clench as a black void opens in the center of his head to observe the end of humanity. The mechanical nightmare wonders if he can still be called human after touching the source of all creation. That mechanical head wears a simple cap as its single eye glows with an eerie and mysterious intensity tonight. This lanky skeletal machine stands tall over a massive crater as a soldier points a gun at its metallic chest. Thin fingers reach out toward the ruined skyline like a dark god claiming dominion over this broken urban hell. Shadows consume the mechanical frame since it decides to plunge deep into the golden void of the massive explosion. Those three arrogant agents look down at their defeated prey without knowing that a true nightmare is approaching. Rage fills the voice of the lead soldier as he curses the situation before realizing his life is about to end. Pure terror paralyzes the entire squad when those red lines of energy appear behind them like the claws of death. Lightning strikes the ground and the skeletal warrior stands firm in the center of a newly created impact zone. Bullets fly toward the metallic monster, but the primitive lead cannot even scratch its reinforced titanium skin. One massive foot crushes the concrete into dust to prove that his mechanical strength far surpasses any human. Victory feels certain for the machine as it balances its weight on the debris of a world that tried to kill it. A golden circular eye locks onto the targets and scans their souls for any sign of mercy before the final strike. Black smoke trails behind the falling reaper since it descends into the abyss to finish this brutal cycle of pain. Somewhere in the darkness a young girl named Haeun sits alone as her phone rings with an urgent message today. Blood drips down her face and she barely manages to groan a response as her team begs for a status report now. Seohyun looks at the ruins and realizes that everyone died except for her in this absolute massacre. She sits exactly 10 meters away since the crushing gravity of that strange unit cannot reach her current position. A floating eye pulses with a dark energy that threatens to swallow the entire world into a void. Intense heat makes her sweat because she noticed that the unit moves way slower whenever its gravity field is active. Cracks spread across the metallic bones of the monster as it struggles against its own overwhelming power today. Her internal system stabilizes her racing heart and she prepares to force the enemy into a total overload. This mechanical nightmare stares back with a hollow gaze that could freeze the blood of any normal human. Survival depends on keeping a safe distance as the girl calculates her next move against this impossible force. The beast has been holding its gravity field for 6 full minutes to block every single bullet she fired earlier. Fractures appear all over its rusted frame, proving that even a god of gravity has a breaking point. She jumps back and fires another round because she knows that nothing in this universe is truly free from gravity. Every shot causes a massive eruption of energy as she forces the entity to burn its remaining power supply. Bullets fly through the dusty air to maintain constant pressure on the target before it finds a way to strike back. Her plan involves widening the gap between them over and over until the monster finally collapses into pieces. Both fighters dance through the wreckage in a desperate struggle to see who will survive this final confrontation. Shadows wrap around the young man as his new form rises like a terrifying ghost from the depths of a digital hell. Fear freezes the heart of the corporate agent because she never expected the target to become such a massive monster. A blinding circle of light erupts from the center of his chest and signals the birth of a power that defies all logic. This tall skeletal frame looms over the battlefield like a dark god ready to judge everyone who dared to touch his soul. Sharp pain flashes through her mind and she screams about her broken limb as the pressure of his presence crushes the air. Cold mechanical eyes stare down at the trembling girl who once thought she was the hunter in this twisted game of death. Tears mix with dirt on her face as she prepares to send her very last message to the greedy company that sent her here. Every single member of her elite squad is now nothing but cold meat since this mechanical demon finished them all today. She drags her broken body across the concrete to escape the shadow of the machine that destroyed her entire world. Massive vibrations shake the ground until a pillar of energy strikes the center of the ruins to end the chaotic struggle. Silence finally returns as the towering skeleton stands still amidst the thick smoke and the scent of burnt circuits. Confirmed data flows through her comms because the target reached a level of overload that no human mind can withstand. High above the misery, a corporate shadow watches the data and orders an emergency team to secure his most valuable asset. Sanabro pulses inside his glass prison and demands a new contract be written for the boy who survived the impossible. Legally, his body now belongs to the corporation and he is nothing more than a tool trapped in a nightmare of steel. A massive corporate transport ship looms over the city while a tiny robot signals from the ground. Seohyun sits in silence to check her device and wait for the next phase of this dangerous experiment. Protective suits carry the heavy metallic casket into the heart of a facility where secrets are buried deep. Darkness surrounds the vessel holding a man who is no longer human but a weapon of pure destruction. Announcements echo through the hall because they finally reached the location for his first interrogation. Digital numbers flicker on the screen to indicate that level 54 is finally ready for the guest. She stands before the massive structure and wonders if her latest creation will actually survive this ordeal. Towering buildings glow under a purple sky and the weight of the future rests on her small shoulders. Sanabro sips his drink and asks if the suppressant dosage was enough to keep the beast at bay today. Fear almost took over her during the ride since she worried the target would erupt and destroy the car. Everyone watches the screens because the monster inside that metal frame should be waking up right now. Doctors receive a strict warning to keep the environment stable before things spiral out of their control. Reinforced walls are a must because this fancy place would look terrible if he decides to smash it. The mysterious leader adjusts his suit and decides it is finally time to meet his newest employee face to face. Cold eyes watch from behind that disgusting brain mask as he enters the room to start the nightmare. The glowing hologram gives a chilling command to look after his original body as the new machine sits quietly in the back. Two shadowy figures confirm that every single preparation for the next phase of this experiment is finally ready for action. This worried scientist warns his superior that no room is strong enough to contain the lethal power of the subject inside. Every warning goes ignored as the chief of security walks right into the danger zone without a trace of fear in his heart. Sparks of raw energy erupt from the metallic fingertips as the system begins to calibrate the new warrior's combat power. That golden silhouette moves deeper into the chamber while the observers watch every single movement through the glass. Cheap furniture earns a mock from the hologram who reminds everyone that a ghost made of light avoids physical discomfort. The commander sits down and orders the team to release the heavy restraints from the monster they just finished building. Fear washes over their faces as they realize that unleashing this weapon might be the biggest mistake they ever made today. Steam hisses as the vertical coffin opens to reveal the terrifying mechanical frame that now holds a human consciousness. Darkness hides his expression, but the hollow stare of the machine sends a freezing chill down the spine of every agent. That glasses guy trembles with terror because Sanabro actually brought a literal monster right into the heart of the company. His partner looks completely annoyed and asks if he is finally done whining like a small child about their current situation. Hanul raises his new mechanical arm and stares at the cold steel that replaced the skin and bones he used to call his own. This new version of the protagonist explores his fingers with a blank look as he questions his humanity in this metal world. A distorted figure greets the protagonist with a cold voice as he finally welcomes Mr. Hanul to this place. Hanul turns his mechanical head and claims that he is definitely not an enemy to anyone in this building. The mysterious leader points his finger and orders a subordinate to bring some fresh clothes for their guest. A bundle of fabric flies through the air with a heavy thud as it lands right before the hero feet today. Those garments are still covered in dry blood, but the stranger offers them as a small gesture of peace. Cooperation could even earn him a premium laundry service since they want this transition to be smooth. Our hero listens in silence as the man claims that those 3 deaths were just minor losses for the company. Shifting the conversation, the glitchy face figure prepares to ask the most important question of the day. He wants to confirm if the young man was actually working with Dr. Seo-hyun before the surgery took place. Hanul stares through the shadows of his hood and simply admits that her involvement in his life is true. The corporate leader sounds almost sympathetic when he mentions how rough everything must have been for a human. Exhaustion fills the eyes of the protagonist as he agrees that his journey was more difficult than anyone can imagine. Massive losses hit the staff, but the unauthorized use of special grade technology is the real problem here today. That secret medical tech is currently lodged deep within his chest and serves as proof of his illegal status. This distorted monster leans forward and declares that the young man has officially committed a major corporate crime. This poor fellow tries to explain that his mind is completely blank and he remembers nothing from that night. Shadows dance as the corporate monster questions his memory while staring at a floating metallic skeleton in the light. Massive energy surges through his mechanical frame as the reality of his transformation begins to haunt his very existence. That robotic businessman asks the young man if he can actually believe that the pile of junk was his original form. Shock paralyzes his face since the gap in his memory feels like a bottomless pit of pure darkness and confusion. Logic dictates that the past is irrelevant because his current situation is far more dangerous than he can imagine. Sudden glitches tear through his skin when he notices a strange red button appearing right in the middle of his vision. Digital squares replace his organic features and his identity literally falls apart in front of this metallic demon. Blinding white light erupts from his head as the last remnants of his human ego shatter into a million digital pieces. Every single cell vanished because his entire being was converted into inanimate material by that crazy female doctor. Seo-hyun decided to digitize his consciousness and trap his soul inside a machine designed for total destruction. Memories and feelings are now just data stored inside a tiny chip that sits inside a cold and heartless metal skull. Silence is the only answer he can give because he has no mouth to scream against this corporate nightmare today. Corporate law dictates that his soul and body now belong to the company as if he were just a common piece of software. Points of light dance as the monster reveals that a lethal gravity device is now embedded deep within his new chest. Fear strikes as the man in the suit mentions dismantling every single part of his new mechanical body to get their money back. This corporate shark starts talking about the artificial sunlight in the room to prove how humane they are to their prisoners. He suggests a deal where the protagonist uses his new powers to work for the company until his massive debt is fully paid. Cold words echo through the air as the man tells Hanul that his only choice is to become a loyal watchdog for the corporation. Work hard to pay back the tech and then they will dismantle this combat frame to give him a normal civilian life again. Suspicion fills his mind as he asks for the exact price of the high-tech body that replaced his original human flesh. The man in the suit stays calm since he is about to drop a financial bomb that would destroy any normal human spirit. Both figures sit across from each other like two players in a deadly game of chess where only one side holds all the cards. His jaw drops as the number 7 trillion rings out because that amount of money is absolutely impossible for him to pay. Top stars from expensive TV programs brag about making millions, but even they could never dream of paying this debt off. These superstars would have to work every single day without a break to reach that level of wealth. Precisely 192 years of grueling labor is the cost of this elite gravity control unit in the world. Silence follows as the protagonist looks at his mechanical fingers and realizes that he is basically a slave to the system. An aircraft carrier from the old world costs 15 trillion, so the guy claims this metal body is actually cheap. Refusal is not an option as the corporate monster explains that he reached uncharted territory with his new gravity powers. The mechanical voice threatens to dismantle every single piece of his body to reclaim that valuable data. Hanul looks absolutely disgusted and calls this insane demand a total robbery of his own existence. That weird brain inside the glass jar simply tells the angry man to calm down before things get messy. Shadows cover his face as he asks if he really looks like a person who is feeling calm right now. Radiant light erupts from the machine as it claims the company always tries to keep things as humane as possible. Nearby workers scream in terror since they realize that nobody ever survives a meeting with this heartless monster. Sanabro argues that letting such a special talent go unused would be a massive tragedy for everyone involved. He stands in the middle of a massive crater and realizes that his life is just a business asset to them. Two contracts appear in the air, giving him a choice between a peaceful death or a lifetime of slavery. Those dark eyes stare into the void because the protagonist knows both options lead to a different kind of hell. A mechanical click echoes through the silent room as the machine welcomes its newest employee to the team. That monster warns him not to even think about running away from his new duties at the corporation. Cold metal presses against his skin as they reveal a control device is already installed deep inside his neck. Any future damage to his body will be his own fault according to the rules of this twisted deal. His very first mission involves hunting down Miss Seo-hyun before she can bleed the company dry of its secrets. Meet Ms. Ha-eun, the woman who will be supervising every single move this guy makes from now on. Congratulations echo through the room as the boss orders the lady to take the protagonist to his new quarters. Both of them stand together against the orange sky of a city that never stops screaming in the distance. This cool girl pulls out a lighter and ignites a spark before taking a deep breath of thick smoke. Hanul watches her in total silence since his brain is still trying to process his new mechanical reality. She notices his intense gaze and wonders if this quiet fellow actually has something important to say. A fake smile appears as the man finally gathers enough courage to ask if he can borrow a single cigarette. Rejection hits like a truck when she coldly tells him to keep his mouth shut and never speak to her again. Pouring rain begins to drench the area as the pair moves through the shadows under a heavy purple sky. Shadows follow her as she walks away with an umbrella, leaving the poor guy alone in the freezing storm. Exhaustion defines his face because his new body is already feeling the weight of this miserable life. Water droplets roll down his metallic skin as he stares into the void with eyes that lost all hope today. They finally arrive at a dark doorway as she announces that this tiny space will be his new home. Sharp words follow since she demands that he keeps the room clean regardless of his current job title. Our hero simply watches her leave since he is too tired to argue with such a cold and heartless supervisor. Sorrow washes over his soul as he whispers that he truly misses the only person who ever loved him in this cruel world. Rain keeps pouring outside since a cracked door serves as the only barrier between him and the suffocating silence of reality. That dark silhouette stares at the purple rain as he drowns in a deep sea of regret and overwhelming loneliness tonight. Every single memory of his mother feels like a sharp blade cutting through his chest despite his new cold mechanical heart. Exhaustion takes over his mind, so he decides that sleeping early is the only way to escape this constant nightmare of life. Seo-hyun calls out his name with a soft voice to bring him back from the dark void where his thoughts were starting to wander. A red skeletal frame appears in his vision as a reminder that his biological humanity was traded for this demonic machine. Her beautiful face leans closer and she wonders if he actually believes that all this horror is just a simple bad dream.